y'all. Welcome to another episode of Diving In Deep, the podcast. Today, I have a really cool and special guest. I got to meet him a couple of years ago when I was on his radio show on Apple Music Radio. He is such an interesting character, but I am just amazed at his voice, his music, his sound, his songwriting. He's originally from Arkansas and I'm from Missouri, so we're kind of neighbors in that way. And we are going to have the most amazing discussion. Please welcome to the show, Fancy Hagood. I sleep in headphones because I love the noise cancellation. Mm-hmm. I'm the worst sleeper in the world. I cannot sleep on the bus. I talk about this all the freaking time. But so it's worth it to me, even though I know that it's like not good for you to have the wireless, headphones. They say you shouldn't even have your phone beside you.
Really?
At night, charging.
Who doesn't sleep with their phone right next?
Exactly. I know. Well, and so I like the fact that I can silence it, and so I won't hear all the dings for Instagram and all that.
Right.
In text. But if my kids need to reach me, they can call me in the middle of the night.
Hear it.
Yes.
I feel like my claustrophobia would never allow me to have something. I can't even do like the eye mask thing.
I do the eye mask and headphones.
Wow.
Yeah, that
so
is how much
zenned out.
I need it, or else I can't sleep. It's crazy.
My paranoia would convince me that someone is just right here.
Well, yeah.
When can't see, can't hear.
I could easily get robbed or anything messed with, because I also listen. So I listen to podcasts as I'm falling asleep, or a book or something. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes like the sound machine. So
I sleep with the sound machine going.
Yeah. So I've got it in my headphones with the noise cancellation. So yeah, I would never be able to hear anybody.
Do you have the Calm app?
I do have the Calm app.
I use the Calm app to go to sleep, literally like religiously for like a long time, like since 2015. Uh-huh. I've used that app. Matthew McConaughey has read me to sleep.
So it's like, what are they reading? Just like,
I don't know.
Go to sleep.
No, they're reading like stories, but I never make it far enough to know really what's going on.
Do you have anxiety?
I would say no. Mm-hmm. I would say there's certain situations and certain people that cause me to be anxious, but I would not say that I deal with anxiety
on the daily,
on a regular basis.
That's great. Yeah. I don't really either, but sometimes like I'll be falling asleep and I'll be listening to a podcast or something that causes me stress and I wake up. So I probably should just listen to like the calm stuff.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's always serene. It's never, because like when I listen to podcasts, it's usually like self-help, and I don't want to fall asleep to that.
Thinking about that, yeah.
Well, I don't want to fall asleep because I'll miss pertinent information.
Oh, true.
And then there's no point in me listening to it at all.
Yeah, then you'll have to listen again.
But the other podcasts that I really get into, especially when I'm touring, because the way I tour right now is it's just like me in a rental car, my guitar, and all my merch. So the best way for me to kill time is podcasts, and I listen to true crime podcasts.
I love true crime.
I can only listen during the day though, because I get spooked. And then if I listen to a true crime podcast while I'm going to bed, would never go to sleep. Right. I could never listen to that with an eye mask and the headphones on, because I would be convinced. I'm terrified there's going to be a true crime podcast like happen.
About you?
No, not about me. I don't even want to speak that. That is a podcast I will not ever be involved in. You know what I mean? Like,
never.
No. But I'm scared of like something happening like in Nashville or like in my neighborhood. Right. Something like that, like happening, and then I'd be like way too spooked for forever, because I listen to true crime and I'm like, things happen everywhere.
It is. I mean, sometimes you have to get off of that. Like I was on that for years, and I kind of had to get off of it because it was like, I felt like it was making my mind too dark. And I like to focus on positive.
And especially when I'm on tour, going from like hotel to hotel, you find yourself in these like creepy like parking garages, and it's just me by myself. I'm just like a gay boy out here on the loose.
By yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm an independent artist, so I don't really have tour support and stuff like that. So when I'm out on the road, which, thank God has been a lot lately. Yeah. It's just me doing the most and the best with what I got.
That's incredibly commendable.
Thank you.
I mean, that's like I'm not fucking giving up attitude. And so I will admit, I almost never listen to music because I'm just, it's like Patsy Cline said, it's like taking a busman's holiday.
Yeah. We're inundated with it. It's like our lives. So.
We're inundated with it. And I think it causes me to not relax because I'm so into it. So it's like, if there's music playing anywhere in the background, if I'm in a restaurant or whatever, I can't talk to you.
Yeah.
Because I'm just listening to that.
Right.
So I've been listening to you. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Like, your voice is amazing.
Thank you so much.
And your music and your production and your songs. Who produces you? Or like, who produced your latest?
Well, recently we've just recorded my sophomore album, and we just recorded that with Jared Kay. One of the songs is with John Osborne from Brothers Osborne, and another song is by a dear friend and amazing producer, Jeremy Latito. So it's been like a little combo, but the bulk of the album was done with Jared Kay.
He produced my record.
I know.
Okay. I love Jared Kay.
He's the best. He's the best. And I think something that's new with this new album that's obviously not out yet, I've been working on it so diligently when I'm not on the road, and it's been a crazy summer because I feel like I've just been honestly living the dream. Like, I moved to Nashville when I was 17, and if you would have told that version of myself that I'd be on the road the way I am and playing shows the way I am, and then when I'm home, I'm in the studio and making an album, and I'm doing it all. I have an amazing team of people, but I'm doing it all independently, which feels wild.
Right.
When you learn about the music industry, it's like, you got to have a record deal. You have to have all these things.
Yeah.
And that system has never worked for me. I don't think that system is in place for someone like me to be successful. Not yet.
Right.
And we're changing that. We're like working to make that different here in Nashville, and there's so much change happening. But for the time being, I'm doing this independently, and I have an amazing team of people invested around me. But what I think is cool about this album is I think that it's the album I moved to Nashville to make like 16 years ago. And
why? Just because it's like, it's exactly the music that you were hoping to make, and the sounds and all of that, the songs.
Yeah, I moved to Nashville to be a country artist, and I was 17, so young, so like impressionable, and I had like starry eyes, and I thought it was going to take like 2 months for someone to
be
find
on a tour
me.
Bus.
I'm like, I'm going to be at the Commodore Grill, and someone's going to be like, get this kid a record deal. And that's not how it happens. We all know that now. But the thing for me is, I came out of the closet, moved here when I was 17. I came out of the closet and was very openly myself. I jokingly say some people come out of the closet. I like kicked the door down and like rode out on a unicorn, and
I love
had this very dramatic transformation. And I've had a lot of very dramatic transformations over the years, but I was told really quickly, and I think by well-intentioned people, I don't think this was like from a hateful place. This isn't like a sob story, but I don't think people knew what to do in country music with someone who was so openly queer. And so I was kind of told pretty quickly that this is not going to work in country music. So with all the well-intentioned people recognizing my talent, but not being able to see a lane for me, I started doing pop music and found success there. But this album is special to me because I think you can listen to it from top to bottom and so hear my influences as I was a 17-year-old driving for the first time on a highway moving to Nashville. I was listening to Sara Evans. I was listening to Nickel Creek.
Yeah. Oh God, I love Nickel Creek. I'm obsessed.
Me too. It's one of my favorite bands. And I had some success in pop music, and so that kind of felt like, okay, well, I guess this is where I'm supposed to be. But my heart has always been in Nashville.
When I heard the song Through.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, you're so country.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, the music is amazing. Like, you're my kind of artist.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You have no idea how much that means to me. You can ask my manager on the way here. I was singing along to all of my favorite songs off your album, Restless. And you are such a huge influence for me.
Thank you.
I'm going to get emotional. You're an artist that I've loved since I can remember loving country music.
Thank you so much.
So even just sitting here across from you, it's just really special. It's full circle for me.
That's a huge compliment.
I can sing your album Restless. My manager can attest to this because she just watched me do it.
What's your favorite song on Restless?
Standing on the edge of this cliff.
Yeah, oh my God, that's one that I wrote.
It's my favorite.
Thank you.
And another one, I think it was written by Bonnie Baker, Tonight.
Yes, it was maybe her and some guy.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I sang harmony on it, but yeah, Tonight. Oh, what a sexy song!
It's so sexy, and that his harmony is to die for.
Yeah,
and your voice is to die for, and I just there's like a bluegrass feel on that album that speaks to me and speaks to, like, you know, we just referenced Nickel Creek and my love for them, and I think moving to Nashville, the stuff I was listening to, you know, was your album Restless and Nickel Creek and Little Big Town. And there was kind of this country music that had this through line of
Dixie Chicks,
yes. And for sure. And there was just like this Americana bluegrass feel to country music back then that really spoke to me. I grew up in Arkansas, and, you know, my family listened to all kinds of stuff. I grew up on Christian music, really. And that kind of has an influence. And I feel like there's all this, you know, I feel like this album that we just made, you can hear that, and you can hear, and I feel like it's my heart. I feel like it's like my love for music, the thing that brought me here.
I love that for you, because I can tell just from, you know, what I've heard is that you love all those sounds, and that you're right. And I think, oddly enough, Marcus Hammond had a lot to do with that.
Really?
I do, because he wrote, you know, like Cowboy Take Me Away.
Yeah, he's so legendary.
You know, he's and obviously we wrote Born to Fly together, and then Feel It Coming On Restless, a couple other songs on Restless. And then he comes in the studio and plays all these weird instruments, and, you know, and so he kind of helped create that Dixie Chicks Born to Fly sound that you're talking about, Nickel Creek, all that. It's kind of whimsical.
That's a word I've used so many times while on this, and it's joy.
God, we're so much alike.
Yeah, it's joy. It's you know, even when you're talking about, you just referenced I Feel It Coming On, and it's like, it's funny to listen to that song now. I just went through a breakup this year, and like hearing that song, I'm like, oh, thinking back to like when I was listening to it, like cleaning my room, like trying to figure, you know, I'm just a kid, angsty teenager, like listening to country music in Arkansas. And I always assumed that song was actually joyful because of the way it's, you know, it sounds musically and the sonic landscape of it. And
it's really a very angry song.
Yeah, it's like you done fucked with the wrong person.
Right. And I can tell you're about to screw me over again.
Yeah.
You know, I feel it coming on.
Yeah, and you're going to be long gone, and you're going to be waking up screaming my name.
Yeah.
I even said, we were listening to that in the car, and I had said to my manager, I was like, I love that my name is Fancy, because anyone who doesn't want to think about me ever again has no choice.
Right.
Because it's just a common word that people use all the time. Oh, that's Fancy.
Why would anyone never want to think about you again?
Well, it's been, you know, if you spend like 3 years in a relationship with me, you might not want to think about me.
I got you.
On the tail end, I can say that is the truth. I can take some accountability. I'm not the easiest person to cohabitate with, you know?
Okay.
But I do love that my name is Fancy, because you will have no option but to think about me all the time, because everyone has that word in their vocabulary. So.
That's right. Is that your real name?
No, it's my Christian name is what I tell people. But my real name's Jake. I'm a man with many names, many identities. That's why I got kicked off Venmo, and I still can't get on it. If anyone from Venmo can help me out, I would love to be able to.
Oh, I was going to Venmo you for being here today. Now I can't.
Well,
dang it.
I do take PayPal and Cash App. I feel like I'm at my merch stand now. I do take PayPal and Cash App, Apple Pay also.
Okay, I've got all three of those. So, yeah.
No, it's funny. I got kicked off Venmo, and so I'm that annoying friend when everyone's like, hey, I'll pay for this, but everyone Venmo me. And I'm like, hey, do you have PayPal?
Yeah.
They're like, is it 2014? What's happening?
Right. I don't understand why you got kicked off Venmo, but you don't have to tell me if you don't want to.
I'm just a man with many identities, and my bank recognizes me as a professional entity, as Fancy, and as Robert Jacob Hagood, which is my birth name.
Got it.
But do I look like a Robert? No.
You kind of look like a Jake, though.
People do, yes.
Yeah.
And I am that. Like, that is part of my identity, and I'm named after both my grandfathers. So there's nothing about my real name, my birth given name that
you
upsets
don't like.
me or that I don't identify with. I do because it's so close to my heart and who I actually am.
Exactly, because both your grandfathers are that.
And like, it's so funny because people are like, well, what's your real name? Because they're like trying to get to the bottom of if Fancy's my real name. And I'm like, well, my real name's Robert, but I've never been called that in my entire life. Because my middle name's Jacob, but I went by Jake my whole life. And so it's just, I'm a man with many names. And my grandfather, his name was JC. And the J and the C didn't stand for anything because Alabama. You know what I mean?
It just stood for Jacob.
No, it just, but when he was trying to get in the military, and I forget which branch he was in, but he was trying to enlist and he was in line to do it. And every time he got to the front, they're like, what's your name? He's like, JC Morton. And they're like, what does the J and C stand for? And he's like, nothing. And they would send him to the back of the line. So after that happened so many times, he just made up a name, and he made up that his name was Jake Morton. So after his time serving in the military, all of his buddies knew him as Jake. So when he came home, he had this whole new name. So he was Big Jake and I was Little Jake.
Oh my God, I love that. Were you close to your grandfathers?
Yeah, I was close to both of them. My other grandfather had a stroke when I was just a child, so I didn't know the version of him that the rest of my family knew and my sisters knew and my parents knew, but I always knew him after that fact. But he was my poppy all the same, you know?
Right.
I had my grandpappy and my poppy, and both of those are the men I'm named after.
It's such a blessing to be able to grow up and have your grandparents, because it's not as common these days because everybody moves, you know, for work and, you know, and of course I had to move away from home. So my children have never really had grandparents around.
Right.
You know, because my whole family is from Missouri. My mother's from Southern Missouri.
Okay. So, I grew up in Northwest Arkansas.
Okay.
So where in Southern Missouri?
Well, like, do you know where Humansville is?
Humansville?
Yeah.
No, I don't. Is that that's a real name of a place? It's a real
town. It's a small town.
Humansville.
And I was named after my great grandmother. Her name was Sarah Mae Morrison. And I wish my mother would have named me exactly that, but she named me Sarah Lynn, and Lynn is so 70s. And I've always hated my middle name.
I feel like Lynn is a common middle name.
I hate it.
You don't like it?
And she spelled it Linn, which is also, and then she didn't give me an H on Sarah like my great grandmother. So, you know, she's just, I guess, just being lazy. Like, you know, we don't need an H. But
she's being an individual.
She is. Yeah. She was trying to, you know, honor her grandma, but
give a nod,
switch it up a little bit. Yeah,
she gave the nod.
Yeah,
you know, I was close to all of my grandparents. They were in my life.
It's a huge blessing.
Yeah, but my mama, my dad's mom, her and I were we were the
thick as thieves.
Yes, I like from the time from the time I can remember anything, my mama was like my everything. My mom tells this story. They lived with us after my grandfather had his stroke, and my mom all took care of him, and they lived in our basement. And I would always go down there, and I have this weird obsession. I've always had a weird obsession with this, still to this day, with showers and baths. It's like, as a kid, I think I just loved playing in the bath and in the shower, and now as an adult, it's where I just kind of like zen out and don't think about anything,
right?
Or just mindlessly watch stuff. Or I mean, the amount of times my management calls me and they're like, "Are you in the bathtub?" And I'm like, "Why are you asking me this? You know the answer is yes. It's just my water bill's very high." But my mom had told me that I couldn't take a bath when I think I was like 3 or 4. And I wanted to take a bath, and my mom was like,
"Why?"
No, it was like late. I was like needing to go to bed for school.
Oh, like just one time, not in general.
Yeah. So I went downstairs to my mama and was asking her, and she also said no. But then I went upstairs. I'm like, I've always also been manipulative. So I went upstairs and told my mom that Mama said I need to get in the bathtub because I stink. And my mom knew I was lying. So she was like, I'm going to go. She told you that? I'm going to go yell at her. And it broke my heart to think of my mom all getting scolded.
Right.
And my mom said I like ran and put my whole body in front of the basement door and was like, "Don't yell at her. She's just a poor old woman."
Oh my gosh. I bet they were dying laughing.
Yeah. So I've always had my mama's back, even though I lied on her. And my mama always had my back.
Yeah.
Always. When I came out to her, which I didn't really know how that would go, because she, you know, you just don't know how.
Yeah.
And I told my mama, I was like, "Hey, just so you know, I'm gay." And she said, "Well, I don't care. I'm a Christian." I was like, "What does that mean?"
She not judging you.
Yeah, it was just very much.
Love you anyway.
And that's my mama's heart, and that's how she's always been. And up until we lost her in 2020.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay. She, you know, I got to sit with her and be with her before she went, and it was really beautiful and really meaningful. And yeah, she always had my back to the very end. So
I love that. I was extremely close to my granny, my mom's mom.
It's special.
It is so special, and I hate that for my children that they haven't been able to have that. And so my plan is to be the best granny that's ever lived. And those kids are just not even going to know what hit them.
Yes.
Because they're going to be so spoiled.
There is something different about, like, you know, I'm close to my parents too, but there is something different about being close to your grandparents.
Absolutely.
It's a different thing.
Well, family in general, like, it is the most important thing in life.
I agree.
I believe. You know, I mean, for me, aside from a relationship with the Lord, but second is family, because it's just like, you know, there's a reason that the family was established, and it's just so important to have those people that, you know, nobody knows you or loves you like your family, and nobody's there for you if you have a good family.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I think there's something to chosen family as well, because I know also from just having friends in the queer space that haven't had the support from family that I have been so fortunate and blessed to have. Yeah. And even outside of, you know, I'm very close to my family I was born into, but the community and the people that I have grown with as an adult and that I know are my family as well here. That's also just such a beautiful thing. And I think for me, the overarching thing with what we're talking about with our actual family, and then also the people you live life
that
with,
become family.
Like you know, I moved away so young and had to like create that, you know, had to find that. And community for me has become the most important thing in my life. And it's something I will never, ever, ever sacrifice. Not for anything, not for my career, not for relationships, not for anything. Those people that are there for you at your best, at your worst. Yes. You know,
love you no matter what.
Yeah. I get really emotional thinking about it. And my family's a constant. They've been there since 1991, and they're always there. But it's like the people here in Nashville that have built me up to be the artist, the man that I am. Yeah, it's really so special, and I wish that for everyone. I hope that everyone has that. Right. That I feel like my friends are like a chain link fence. I can't fall because we're all like. Yes. Right there. And I say I can't fall. That doesn't mean I can't fail. I fail all the time. I've been signed and dropped by every entity you can imagine, both Nashville and LA at this point. So
let's talk about that. I mean, I'm disillusioned by the music industry, you know,
Me too.
And I am so obviously when I got my record deal, like we had to do the radio tour and we had to do all that stuff, which I thought was just, you know, horrific and awful and exhausting and horrible. But now when I watch what people are having to do now and trying to figure out even how to make it and how to make money at it, it's so depressing. Yeah. Like it's just not what it was. And Martina has been on the podcast and we talked about that, how now we're looking back and thinking how lucky we were to do the whole scenario like you were talking about. Move here, get a record deal, the record label makes you famous. Now they want you to be famous first. Right. Before they'll sign you or even think about even managers, publicists. I mean, everybody Like, how many followers do you have?
I know. How visible are you?
How visible are you? And not how good are you?
Right.
How different are you? How amazing are you as an artist and an entertainer and a writer? And, you know, all of that is like second to how many eyes do you have on you or how many likes have you gotten and followers. It's just like so depressing.
It is a little disheartening because it isn't about talent. Right. And I think there's people from every era of creating music that would argue that there's always been some level of that.
There always has been.
Yeah, just different varying things and different. I think what makes it so different now is just the absolute access people have to everyone and everything.
Right.
And the expectation for an artist to not just focus on art. You have to be a comedian. You have to be
an influencer.
You have to be an influencer. You have to be a video editor. You have to be on all the time. And I think that there's always been an element of that for entertainers.
Right.
But just the sheer amount of access. I remember when things started popping off in my career when I was a little pop star out in LA. TikTok was not around, but I remember there was this moment where I was in New York to do the Tonight Show. And what a crazy bucket list thing that was. But there was this moment we were in like this SUV and everyone in my team was in there and it was like, hey, have you Snapchatted like this many times today? Like, you know, Snapchat is for what you don't want to put on your main feed on Instagram. So you Snapchat it so people can see like what you're doing throughout the day without you having to post it to one spot. And then when you're not Snapchatting, there was this app then called Periscope where you would go live.
I remember that.
Now all of this is just streamlined on just one app now. Right. You know, you don't have to do all of it, but from separate things. But I remember being like, is there ever a moment where I'm not like putting myself out there? I'm like, which app do I use when I'm in the bathroom? Can you tell me that? It was just very weird to be having this moment of like, this bucket list thing is happening in my life and I'm wanting to like live in this moment and like experience it, but I kind of can't because I'm actually having to just
document it all,
promote myself. And I think I really struggle with the music industry, Sarah, because my goal for myself before I'm an artist, my goal for myself as a human is authenticity.
Yes.
How am I showing up as myself to every moment? Mm-hmm. And how am I experiencing this moment? And I think when you start putting commerce and art and all of these things in a blender, I think for me, authenticity suffers. It's like you and I were talking before this started. It's like hard to recreate conversation.
Yeah.
And, you know, you've been on my radio show. So it's like, I experience that all the time where, you know, we just start shooting the shit. And then it's like, oh shit, was this thing on? Because how do you go back and have that electric moment of just genuine passion and connection? You can't recreate that. And a lot of the times, you know, it's like, we got to get that for Instagram or we got to get content.
Yep.
And I feel like, you know, I love a camera as much as the next person, but it's like, sometimes I feel like my authenticity suffers from trying to be what I think or what other people think an audience wants from me.
Exactly.
And that's really hard for me because I'm like, I kind of don't want an audience that doesn't want who I am as I am.
Well, because you want the perfect scenario for me is to have everybody, you know, see me on stage, hear my music, see me on an interview or whatever, and then not really know, you know, what my private life is like all the way.
Yeah.
You know, just as much as I want to share. But we just a few days ago went on a private tour in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, fun.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
And it was also kind of depressing because I was like, all of these artists that I'm looking at, their costumes and, you know, like Jimi Hendrix and Madonna and Fleetwood Mac and all that, the Eagles. Like,
I live for Stevie Nicks.
Oh, me too. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I love to do her vibrato. Like, you know, it's one of my favorite things is to cover a Stevie Nicks song.
What's your favorite cover?
I love them all, and I also love the other Chrissy Hines. I mean, not Chrissy Hines. What's her name?
Kristen McPhee.
Yes, sorry, because we were just looking at the Pretenders display.
Oh yeah.
I love her songs too, but I don't know. I mean, I covered Monday Morning on my covers album.
Oh, fun.
And so I just love them, I think, but
I do too. I'm obsessed.
I love Sarah.
All things Stevie, Fleetwood Mac, it's just it's perfection to me.
You can't really name one.
Yeah.
Everything on the Rumors album. I mean, every single song.
I know. I just covered Landslide. I put that out.
Landslide is just incredible.
And you know, it's another one of those things. It's another moment where it's a song I've grown up with. It's a song I've known as long as I've known music. And then you listen to it as an adult, or for me, listening to it after heartbreak.
Yes.
It meant something different. And those lyrics just kind of like hit you in a different spot.
Especially when she says children get older and I'm getting older too.
Yeah.
You know, that hits you when you have children and they start getting older. And, you know, my youngest is 19. So I'm in that phase.
It is kind of really a song about time.
It is.
And change. And it's
and the chain.
Me. Oh God.
You just can't name it. There's not a bad one.
I know.
But just to go back to thinking about, you know, how perfect that was, or like when I watched the David Geffen documentary, I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I haven't.
You got to watch that. It's unbelievable. But just thinking about that time in LA in the 70s when they all just were kind of there, and he created a space for the artist to just be able to be comfortable and relaxed and really, really create. And then it was his job and his team's job to do all the promoting and all the, now it's like they want the artist to do it all.
You have to.
And then you're basically giving your music away for free. And when you see sometimes those numbers, like from a song, like this song being streamed this many times and this is how much the artist is making.
Yeah.
It's devastating. It's
disheartening.
It kind of feels like a lot of things like that are that way to me in the world right now. Just a lot of like, it's not dreamy like it was. There's no romance to life.
For me, as an up and coming artist and I've been an up and coming artist for 16 years now. Mm-hmm. I feel like I have to just exist in my lane. I have to exist where I exist, right? Uh-huh. And it can be disheartening and it can be soul crushing and all of this stuff. But in the same way, we're all connected too much and it can feel negative and it can feel the way like what we're talking about. And I definitely feel that a lot. Mm-hmm. I also have to like shift my narrative and my mindset sometimes because it's also wild how we're connected. And I think it's a beautiful thing sometimes too. You know, when you have like internet trolls like on your page, like saying all these things, I'm kind of like, why do these people have access to me? This is so crazy. Yeah. But then you get messages from people that are like
so loving
and like, I can't believe I found your music and I'm so grateful an artist like you exist. And you know, that's like, that takes me back to like, I mean, how cool would it have been when I was in 6th grade singing Niagara Falls
to have been able to message me,
to be able to message you, to let you know just how informative and impactful.
You're so right.
That is. It's like, it's actually a beautiful thing sometimes that we're able to connect as artists.
You're so right. And that feeling crowds never fails when you're on stage.
Yes. And another thing to it as well is that like, I think in this day and age, the beautiful thing is I'm allowed to be the independent artist, the gay country artist I am, not because the gatekeepers in Nashville have said, you deserve this, we believe in you, go for it, but because there's a community of people that I have found online that say, we are here for this. We love your music. This speaks to us. These stories matter too. And that's what country music is, right? Storytelling.
Yeah.
And there's an audience that says these stories matter to us.
Right.
And so they have become my gatekeepers. They've been the people that allow my music into their life, and they spin my songs and they listen to me in the car. And, you know, it hopefully, you know, it's all a snowball, and that's what being an up and coming artist is just allowing a snowball to happen and continuing to show up and say, I give a fuck about my art. Right. And I give a fuck about the people who see themselves in my art. Yeah. So as much as sometimes I do get disenchanted by the music industry.
That's a great word. That's a great word.
I have to say that I also am enchanted that there is a space in this universe for an artist like me to play the music I get to play, and I don't have to change myself to fit a narrative or to, you know, fit Nashville or to fit a geographical location. Because I saw, I forget where I saw this, but there was an interview. Someone was talking about Iron Maiden. What a pivot I just made. I'm not too familiar with Iron Maiden.
Me neither. Tell me what that is.
I think they're like this, like this goth, screamo, heavy metal. I have seen them at Bridgestone in a random turn of events, and it was something to witness. But their manager was talking about, someone was asking advice about being in the music industry, and this spoke to me on such a deep level, and it kind of is what keeps me going as an independent artist. He said, I am not in the music industry, I'm in the Iron Maiden industry. And everything we do is that. It's not, I'm not here to compare, you know, my artists to other artists. I'm not here to try to do anything other than just be in this industry. And that speaks to me because I also, you know, we're on Music Row right now. And I know just from history that this as historic and special and amazing as it is, and a lot of the music that speaks to my heart in like the deepest way comes from this road. Yeah. But this road was not built, and these businesses were not brought up for an artist like me to be successful. So I have to say, I am not in the music industry either. I am in the Fancy Hagood industry. Yeah. And so everything I do from this point forward, and the people I align myself with, have to be aligned in that vision, and they have to understand my vision completely because, you know, like I said, I'm not on a label. There's no one fitting this bill. Right. I'm doing that.
You're doing that.
And I'm doing the best I can with what I got.
And you're booking like your own shows, like, or are you with an agency?
Yeah, I'm with an agency, and like, look, that's what's been beautiful about this is because I can remember a time where it's like me, my best friend Natalie, my former publisher Steve Markland, who is an absolute legend and icon when I think about people who believe in artists and creatives and do right by them. Steve Markland is definitely, you would see his face in a book about that. Right. And I remember it just being the three of us trying to figure this out. And it felt so daunting and challenging. And then you just start making decisions. You start making movement. You start making progress. And those small steps lead to small successes. And something I can't, you know, I have to think about all the time, and I wonder if you can relate to this at all, is when I was on a major label and I had the biggest manager in the world, the successes were never celebrated. Because when you're on a roster with number 1 and 2 and your offering is number 29, that was my first single ever put into the world. The first piece of art I ever put into this vastness went to number 29 on the pop chart. That feels amazing to me. Yeah. But when you're sitting next to number 1 and 2, the industry looks at 29 and says, fail. Yeah. You're not good enough. You need to change. Maybe you should have lost more weight. Maybe people would connect then. Maybe you should be less feminine. Maybe you should be this. Maybe you should be that. And it leads me to a place of like, maybe I should have been myself. Yeah. And so I'm in this place now where I'm like I said, like authenticity matters most to me. Yes. I'm getting to make music that reminds me of the music I love so much, moving to Nashville. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that will help connect and that will snowball this stuff even faster. But what I'm learning as an independent artist is the best thing about it is every victory, small or big, can be celebrated.
Oh, absolutely.
It takes nothing for me and my manager to go get margaritas because we had
something great happened.
We had a great meeting, or
yeah.
we landed this gig, or I'm opening for so-and-so and I can't, we figured this out, or we sold this much merch and we can't believe it. It's like, let's celebrate. And when you can celebrate those small victories, they all start adding up.
They do.
To bigger moments. And that's really special to have people in the trenches with you that can say, hell yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah.
And it might not be the biggest win. I'm not number one on the Billboard chart, but you don't have to be to celebrate yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's something this industry gets wrong all the time. Well,
even if you make an amazing record and nobody hears it, I mean, that's still a huge accomplishment.
Yes.
And something to be proud of.
Yeah. And I think also it's like, we make this music for ourselves.
Exactly.
Like, we're artists. Like, this is a reflection of where we're at in a space and time and how we're feeling. Mm-hmm. And for me, and I think a lot of artists can relate to this, it's like therapy. Writing these songs and putting them out into the world, and you don't know who's going to hear them. You don't know where it's going to land. But yeah, it does something for you personally as well.
Yeah.
That should be a celebration.
Well, it's like when you're in the studio and we just recorded 2 Christmas songs. And just, all the little things that you care about as an artist and that you're doing in there and taking all the time to layer the harmonies and add a special little, melody change, or all those little details that most people will never notice.
Right.
Honestly, they will never notice it.
These aren't life or death situations or decisions.
Yeah. But I'm real big on, I don't tune my vocals. I never tune my vocals live. I mean, kill me. Just kill me.
So I'm different. I'm like, tune it up.
No.
Like, make it sound perfect.
Now, I will comp vocals.
Yeah. That's what I do too, yeah.
But no, I'm not just like doing a vocal and then saying, all right, bye, tune it.
Yeah.
No, I just can't, I don't know. That's just something with me is like being the authentic. And I'm also incredibly competitive. So
I am too.
I want to have people say you sound better live than you do on your records,
Yeah,
and not because they're being tuned.
I'm not worried if they think I sound better live. I do want to sound great. Like my record live.
Yes.
I want people to be oh, that sounded just like the record.
Yes.
That's what I kind of, I strive for that as well.
Yeah. And I just can't imagine like having my front of house guy have a tuner. And then I've heard recently.
I feel like that would be a luxury. Is that like, do people have that?
So many artists do that. I just learned this. So many current artists that are touring have their vocals tuned as they're singing. And they're also listening to the tuned.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, what's it like having a front of house guy? That's not a stranger.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like a local.
That's true. We're
going to get there.
You're going to get there. Of course you are. You're too talented not to. Because that's what I was going to say back when you were talking about, figuring out how to be gay in country music and how to do that, all that. And I'm just like, I don't care about any of that. I mean, I haven't lived your life. And I do understand, limitations and maneuvering, like being a mom.
Yeah.
I tell this story all the time. Like there was a year that I wanted to take every Friday night off because my son was playing high school football. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't going to miss one game. And it was going to be his junior year, his senior year, because he was really good. And
I bet the way you toured was like Weekend Warrior stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally. But it was just something that I was not going to budge on. And I kept getting calls from my accountant. I just want you to know this is how much money you're going to be missing. And finally, I was like, if you call me again, you're fired, because I'm not going to miss a game. Because now looking back, my son just turned 25 yesterday.
Wow.
And which is shocking to me. And how much would I regret that?
Right.
If I had let myself be pressured into that. But what I was going to say about you is just your music stands on its own. And so you're so talented that it's not about, I mean, to you, I'm sure it's been having to deal with that. But to me, looking at you and listening to you, I'm like, you're just a great artist.
I appreciate that.
Really.
And yeah, and I think that's the work myself and a lot of other artists like me are here in Nashville doing.
Yeah, you're just a natural born singer.
Yeah, and I think that's what all of us would love, to show up and that be what it's about.
Yeah. Gay or not.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, like, that's what I want the music industry to be about.
Me too. And that's why I show up and I'm okay being called a queer country artist, because I want to do what I'm doing and become so great at it. And it becomes so undeniable that the artists coming behind me don't have to label themselves as anything other than
just I'm great.
I'm as great.
Yeah.
I'm a country artist.
Right.
And I want to be someone who's creating space in a place that has not created space for diversity and for other people to be able to tell their stories in the same way, like you just talked about, like being a mother. I'm sure this industry was not easy on you or other women, you know.
And I'm not complaining because, you know, I wanted children and I would have had 7 or 8 kids if I could have.
Of course. And you should have been able to do that without anyone questioning that or, you know, reminding you of what you are giving up to do that.
Yeah. And I did. I will, like, I have to say, I was very lucky. Like, you know, yes, there were some comments that were like, when's she going to lose the baby weight? That kind of stuff. But for the most part, you know, and I get it. I mean, we're a commodity. Like, you know, when can you get back out on the road? When can, you know, how much are you going to miss for football?
And when you get to a level of success that you've reached, you know, there's other people that trickles down. There's other people, you know, you have a front of house guy.
Right.
He's like, you know, are we going on the road this week and all this stuff? So you do start, you start thinking about things a little differently in you or this business. And so, yeah, I get that too. But for me, just the truth of it is showing up in Nashville, being my authentic self, being open about who I am. It's always been the conversation, whether I speak it or not.
Right.
It's the conversation. So for me, it's important. It's important to show up as my authentic self every day. I am who I am, who I am, who I am. I make no apology for it. And the other thing is like, my goal with this album, with my music, is to become a bridge to where conversations like that don't have to exist, because you're exactly right. It should be about the music and the music.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Yeah.
But the problem is we live in a place and time where it's not. It's about all sorts of other things. And I want my music to be a bridge. I want to be someone who speaks to optimism and care and love and kindness and reaching this place where we can all just exist and love each other and be, and no one has to be labeled anything at all. And if that means I have to show up and be this queer country artist, because that's unfortunately not common, I'll do it, because I want to create change. I want my art to speak to history. I want my art to be something that has changed the way people view music. That is, you know, a lot of the artists I grew up listening to, that's what they did, you know?
Yeah. So that's why you went to pop first?
Well, no, I went to pop first because I felt like I wasn't invited to this party here in Nashville. Yeah. And now I'm like, you know what? I might still not be invited to this party, but I'm having a party of my own and everyone's invited. And it's crazy, the people that have shown up.
Yeah.
And that, I think that is the beauty of authenticity and being yourself. And like I said, I don't claim to be in the music industry. The music industry was not built for me to be successful. So why would I show up to that party? I'm having my own party and everyone's invited. If you want to party with me, I would love for you to party with me. And it's crazy, the people that have shown up and supported and had my back, you know, and it makes it all feel tangible. It makes it all feel possible. And that's beautiful, because I feel like there's a group of people in Nashville now who are saying, I'm here, I matter, my stories matter. And it's because there's so many people, you know, you're from Missouri, I'm from Arkansas. There's so many people that aren't represented in country music, and that live in the South, and that, you know, their stories deserve to be told too.
Yeah.
And it's not about changing people or changing minds. I think it's about I just think about the way music set me on fire.
Right.
The way it did in my
how did you start singing?
In church.
Okay. Do you want to do this question? Maybe like figure out a way to rap in the next 5. Okay.
Cool.
Tell me how you started.
Yeah, I started singing.
I love to hear, because it always surprises me. Yeah. Like how did you as this little kid go, I'm a singer and that's what I'm going to do? So
my mom would tell you I sang before I spoke, because I was the youngest of 3. My 2 older sisters would always talk for me. My mom and dad would always talk for me. So I was actually a really quiet kid. You wouldn't know that from this podcast, because I'm chatty
I'm in heaven. No, I just love listening.
I'm chatty as all hell. But I was always singing when I was little. And so I would sing in church with my sisters, with my mom. We would all do like little Point of Grace songs in church and find the harmonies and all that. And that's kind of where I started. So sisters
sing too?
They did. Yeah. I think they can both sing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't think they like pursue it. Like they haven't the way I have.
Right.
I don't think they were as passionate about it as I was.
I've got that same thing. Like I've got really all my siblings are as talented as I am, but my brother and I were the ones that were like, we're doing it. We're doing it.
We're going for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, just like, music always just spoke to me in a different way. It just always, I feel like that's where I felt the most myself, was like in music or performing and stuff like that. So yeah, I've always sang from when I was really little. And then I think Christian music is what I was kind of allowed to listen to in my like more like younger years. But yeah, it was, you know, all the people I've listed, that's kind of where I felt set on fire.
Right.
Was hearing that music for the first time and the storytelling of it all. Because I think at the end of the day, all of my artistry is built on storytelling.
And not to interrupt, but you must be a really good guitar player, are you?
I taught myself how
yourself?
I started on piano.
Okay.
And when I moved to Nashville, I knew how to play piano. I did not know how to play guitar. I do accompany myself now. And I taught myself.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I taught myself when I was like 19, 20, because I got so tired of lugging my keyboard from like writing room to writing room and gig to gig to gig. And yeah, now I can play guitar well enough to convince someone who doesn't play guitar that I'm a good guitar player.
So it's never daunting anymore.
At a show?
Yeah.
It just depends on who's there and who else is performing. It's like weird for me to consider myself a guitar player when I'm like sitting at dinner with John Osborne from Brothers Osborne, who's like a guitar god.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit there and try to convince him I'm a guitar player, you know, but it's like
But the audience.
I play enough to write to, and I feel like writing and storytelling is my guitar.
Yeah.
I feel like that's my instrument. And that's where I feel like I thrive. So I play well enough to accompany what I do best.
Yeah. And I love that. You know, like Jeff Trott produced my last record.
Oh, I love Jeff Trott.
I love him.
What a legend.
He's a legend. Yeah. And we just hit it off immediately. I went to write with him for my last album, and I was like, I think I want him to produce the record, because and I'm a Sheryl Crow fanatic.
Of course.
And so then when he told me he wrote If It Makes You Happy by himself, I was like, oh my God, I didn't really realize who I'm sitting here with. Yeah. But he does the same thing. Like, and he went out and did a couple shows with us where he played on his own, but it fits him perfectly, because the way he sings and the way he plays and the way he sings the songs that he wrote, even though Sheryl recorded them, is just perfect. Like, you're watching it and you're like, everything matches perfectly. So totally. I'm sure you're the same way. Okay, so what about your new record? I can't believe Jared K produced it. I mean, I know. But God, I had the best time. For everybody watching, Jared K produced my covers album, which is called Copy That. And it's one of the most fun experiences I've ever had making a record. He does such a good job at letting an artist be an artist. Yeah. And it's the first time, speaking of playing and stuff like that, it's the first time where I'm playing on pretty much every song. Oh, good. Yeah. And I wrote every song. So it's the first time, and I've written every song on everything I've ever put out, but other than my You're a fabulous EP. Writer. Thank you. You're a fabulous writer. But yeah, it's like, I'm playing on everything, and it's the first time in my career where that was like the focus. That's why I love working with him, because he is definitely like, yeah, just go. Yeah. do it. Because I'm a little obsessive, and I'm like, I feel like I want to add 10 more layers of the, Yeah. He's just very chill, whatever you want to do.
It's a really good vibe and atmosphere.
Is. And I made him sing a lot of harmonies.
Same.
And he got a little like, I really don't think, maybe you should call somebody else. And I'm like, no, you're doing it. Because he's an amazing singer.
I made him do it on mine as well. His voice is so beautiful. Yeah. It's so unique.
Yes.
He's just so good at blending with all kinds of voices and all. I feel like you and I are the same. We have a very distinct sound.
Very much so.
So it's hard for me sometimes.
We need to write together.
Oh my God, let's go.
We need to write together, and we should write a song about our grannies, your mama and my granny.
I would love it.
Make it like the same person somehow.
Let's go.
And honor them. What's the name of your record? When's it coming out?
It's coming out this fall.
September 5th, I think.
Am I allowed to say the name of my record yet? I'm not on a label. My album is called American Spirit.
I love that name.
Thank you.
And is that the name of a song?
It's the name of a song that John Osborne actually produced.
Okay.
Who's like a brother from another mother for me, and was a dream.
No pun intended.
Him. Yeah, Brothers exactly. But yeah, he produced it, and I
just
American
opened
Spirit.
for them the other night.
I did too.
Yeah, and he.
Oh my gosh.
Who's the brother that's married to God, I'm so bad with names. Lucy.
Oh yeah, John. That's John. John and Lucy
watched
are married.
my whole show.
Aw.
It made me nervous, but also so excited. I kept looking, and I waved, and because I also love Lucy.
She's incredible.
And I'm obsessed with their song, Just for the Record.
Oh yeah.
That Rustin and Lucy and Jared wrote.
Mm-hmm.
I was told that I couldn't record it because the artist was putting it out. Come to find out, it was Jared. I mean, Rustin
and Lucy put it out too.
And Lucy. Yeah. So then when I told Jared about it, he was like, "What? I would have loved for you to cut that song."
I think Rustin and Lucy would have loved that too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Totally. But I might still yet record that song someday because it's amazing.
So good.
Okay, so American Spirit.
Yeah.
Not the cigarettes.
Well, actually, the song is about the cigarettes. It's just about bad habits. It's it's at my live shows. I say the song is the ode to fuck boys. So that's what that is. But I think when encompassing the album, it's the title that I think, because this album is about my spirit,
right?
And
there's always a sinner song.
Yes, and it's this album's not about smoking cigarettes and bad habits. It's not. But this album is about my spirit, and this album for me is, I feel like, a return to my original dream of moving to Nashville, and I think it's the album I would have loved to have been able to make when I got here.
Send me an advance copy.
You got it.
I want to hear it. I'm dying to hear it.
But I think it's also my arrival. I think it's also my moment of saying, I'm here, I'm country. I've always had this dream. And I believe in it more than anything I've ever believed in. And I'm just so proud of it. And I can't wait to send it to you.
And I'm proud of your resilience and hard work, because that's not easy what you're doing.
Thank you.
And you're doing it. And that means you were born to do it. And it's just going to continue to grow. I just know that, because
thank you.
You're too damn good. What's the first single going to be, and when does that come out?
So the single that's out is called Losing Game.
Losing Game.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. You're going to hear all the instruments that you and I both love. It really,
I can't wait.
It sparks me. And my album is called American Spirit.
Did Billy Justino play on it?
He did not.
All those guys? No.
I love him, and I would have loved to have had him in the studio for these things. But yeah, it didn't align the schedules.
Okay, yeah. I was just thinking when you said sounds, because Billy Justino,
so good.
He added so many sounds. Like, we were like all tired, ready to go to bed, and he was like, "I've got one more little," and he would bring in like this little piano thingy. And
yeah, Jared played all the keys and piano on this record. I believe that. Yeah.
And because on Whenever I Call You Friend, he probably took an Ambien and got up in the middle of the night and went out to the studio, and he put this wacko piano solo on it. Listen to it when you leave, but it's you'll think it's so funny because it's just really weird. But anyway,
sounds right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
This was amazing.
Highlight of my career.